Well, here's the thing. First of all, I want to make it very clear. This is my favorite five football movies. Okay, there's kind of a difference between favorite or best of all time and my favorite. All right, but what I'm going to start you off with is Varsity Blues. Okay, who doesn't like high school football? And better yet, who doesn't love the backup quarterback? It's everybody's favorite position. Okay, everybody loves the backup quarterback, whether they're good or whether they're not good. Everybody's clamoring for him to come in, except for in our case, of course. But it's just such a cool movie. He's the kind of the guy on the bench, gets thrust into the spotlight when his teammate goes down. They kind of live in the high school life. He's kind of the man leading the troops now. Kind of thrust into that role as the team leader, and he's kind of going, butting heads with their awful head coach, who's much more concerned about his next title, than taking care of his players or their safety, their health, their well-being. But it's a great movie. I definitely recommend
And who doesn't love ice cream sundaes?
it. I'm not going there.
So for me, my number five is Any Given Sunday. I don't know if I'd watch this again, but I feel like that it was kind of like a behind the scenes, a little bit extreme. It was one of those fun movies where it kind of showed you kind of like that explicit life of an NFL player, I guess, to the max. It had a couple of good scenes in there from Al Pacino where he was in the locker room just riling up the group. A little bit more on the serious side too, but I got to put I got to put a movie on my list that has a song in it that I remember to this day. My name is Willie Beeman. I got to Steamin' Willie Beeman. I gotta. That just comes in my head every time I think of football movies. I think of Willie Beeman. And actually, Jamie Foxx was a really good football player when he was in high school. He was like over 1,000 yards rushing. I think I saw that when I was kind of researching today. And he did a lot. He did all of his own stunts there on the football field, so that was kind of cool. But there was another scene where he's so nervous about getting. He was a backup too. He was so nervous about getting on the field that he threw up on the field in front of everybody, and they're like, "Man, I got to stand in your throw up to hike the ball." He's like, he didn't know any of the plays. He just figured it out. But it was an okay movie. I enjoyed it. That's what I give my number five. Al, what's your number four?
Number four. Okay, first of all, I want to tell everybody if they're not getting in with their favorite movies, get in now. Type in your favorite movies in the comments. You can give us your top five. You can give us your favorite. You can give us all the good football movies. Okay, there's plenty of good ones out there to choose from. And number four, I have the Little Giants. All right, I mean, it's Becky the Icebox and her ragtag bunch versus Spike and the Cowboys. All right, in a brother-on-brother coaching duel. All right, one of whom was a successful Heisman winner. The other was kind of the outcast of the bunch. They didn't really play sports. You got a team of guys that didn't make the team, of the Cowboys that just want to play football, and then you've got the elite who's going for the wins and the cutthroat victories. So obviously they challenge each other to a game in the very end. It's a great movie, a family-friendly movie. I suggest it to everybody.
Well, I appreciate you putting in that family friendly movie after the last two we talked about, but I actually didn't have that one. But we do have some people saying Little Giants in the comments over here on YouTube. So you got some people with you on that. Got some people saying Rudy. Some people saying one that I'm about to tell you about. Marty Bruce just put Facing the Giants. So he likes that one. That's a good one too. But mine is one that somebody's already mentioned. But who doesn't love their mama? And there's one guy that loved to play football, but also loved his mama very much, and he wants you to know that. And that's The Waterboy. And so I love that movie. I watched it many times, and just rewatching it. The only reason why I wouldn't put Waterboy higher is because the Mud Dogs actually beat Clemson in the movie. If you remember that, it's kind of real quick. There's a newspaper that comes up and it says Mud Dogs beat Clemson, and I was like, man, why you gotta put Clemson on there? But overall, the movie was great, and I enjoyed it. You got to have an Adam Sandler movie in here, so I put The Waterboy as number four for me.
All right. Well, I actually have my number three as The Replacements. All right. I feel like, with how big this whole Keanu Reeves thing is getting, that having him at three is shameful. I mean, he should be at the number one of every list. But here we are. There's just simply better movies out there. It's a great movie. It's a group of, has-beens or never-wases that have to come together while the divas in the NFL are on strike. So they hire their replacement players as they try to march toward the playoffs. Plenty of funny moments in this movie. It was one of my favorites growing up. I know Chris and I used to watch it all the time. We used to love this one. So it was number 3 for me. And like I said, there's better football movies, which is hard to believe because that's one of my all time favorites.
Yeah, that one's good. And so I'm going to go ahead and say mine as so I said Waterboy was number 4. I actually put number 3, The Replacements. Like you said, Keanu Reeves. I'm cheating off your paper again, but Keanu Reeves, Shane Falco, and the reason I like that one too because it was so believable. You know, the NFL. I mean, you know, it's comedy obviously, but the NFL players and the referees and the cheerleaders all go on strike, and everybody has to be replaced. And Little C is saying the same thing. He loves The Replacement, so shout out to Little C there. But you know, everybody goes on strike, so they had to replace the referees, they had to replace the players, they had to replace the cheerleaders. Obviously, you got the love story between the head cheerleader and the quarterback there. But there was a scene where Keanu comes to the stadium, and the real players are picketing and protesting, and he's got this like beat up like boat truck, you know, like a Toyota Tacoma. You remember my Tacoma that I had was like 100 pounds of a truck. It was like the smallest truck you could buy in the market. Remember that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so he gets in there, and those guys say, "You know what? You're in my parking spot." He's like, "I'm not in your parking spot, man." And he's like, "Well, you're in my boy's parking spot." So they flip his truck on its side, and he's like, "You know what? Whatever. I'm just going to walk away." Well, these 2 offensive linemen come up, and they're like, "Hey, it's time for you to flip that truck back over." And they're like, "Who are you?" And they're like, "We're the guards, and we protect our quarterback." And they all laugh at him, and he goes, "Is that your car over there?" And it's like a Porsche. He's like, "Oh, yeah. He pulls out a gun and shoots a bunch of bullets into a windshield. And they're like, "Oh, God, okay." He's like, "Go ahead and flip the car over now." I just love that. I love that scene. I can't say everything it said in there. You know, these movies are ones I watched a long time ago. But it was a good movie for sure. So we got number 3 for me is The Replacements.
Number 2, you stole my thunder a little bit. I'm going with The Waterboy. It's Adam Sandler's best movie. You know, maybe followed pretty closely by Happy Gilmore. That was also another good one. You know, you stole my thunder big time with this one because I didn't know you were going to talk about the Clemson cameo they had in there with the newspaper. Small correction. It says Mud Dogs clip Clemson. All right. And one thing I was really hoping to ask our live viewers, because everybody was really into this kind of segment and everybody was telling their favorite movies. I was really wanting to know if somebody could tell me what the score was on that game.
Ooh, okay.
Split Clemson. What was the score? Please tell me in the comments if you remember the score.
I thought it was a lot more than clipping, though. I thought that they dominated Clemson on that newspaper. They didn't actually show them play Clemson or anything like that, but it was just like a random thing that just popped up, and I was like, what? Why you got to hate on Clemson like that? That was back when Clemson wasn't, you know, as dominating as they are now. But Al, let's see if anybody in the comments on YouTube is saying, we got a couple people watching on YouTube. Thank you for the support and coming back in and joining us. But Al, anybody on Facebook saying that they know?
I haven't got anybody yet. Mine is not even telling me about live viewers. We are live. We are on the air. But I've got Evan and Al Kuhn and Michael Gilbert and Alexander Lloyd. I got those guys in here, but it's not giving me any comments. Nobody's giving me any scores about that. So hopefully somebody can come up with the answer.
All right. So what is the answer? You go ahead and tell me what the answer is.
You want me to tell you the answer? Well, then our audience is going to know. Nobody's going to be able to tell us in the comments.
All right. Well, then don't tell me the answer. I'll just watch the comments. All right. So my number two is Varsity Blues, one of your ones you've already said. The Oop-de-Oop. I felt like that movie just had all the little things of high school. All the little things of high school. I remember he comes out, he calls the play, and the coach is like, What kind of play is this? He's like, "It's a secret, coach." He's a secret. There are no secret plays. He's like, "It's the Oop-de-Oop. The Oop-de-Oop." You know, and he just loses his mind. You know, that would be something that I would do, is call some secret play to show off to the coach. That's like Morgan 100% right there. But man, there were like concussions, there were alcohol, there was girls, there was injuries, there was the backup quarterback, there was the overbearing coach, overbearing dad. You know, there was like everything that you would think from high school. You know, that high school that's football centered in that movie.
Sure.
Not the best movie in the world, but it definitely had everything you could think of for drama with a high school movie. It had even Paul Walker in it, if you don't remember that.
Right.
So guy that I love from all the Fast and the Furious. Well, not all of them, but most of them are the first ones. But so what? Now we're going to the big one.
Yep.
All right. Now I know a lot of people put in the comments what theirs were. A lot of people said Rudy. I didn't put Rudy. I just it was one of those movies that was nice to watch, and I think we got to watch it in elementary school one time. I don't really know why, but I didn't put Rudy down. What did you put as your number one? I got a hint. I got a feeling that we're gonna say the same one.
Well, we should say the same one, and everybody on the planet should say the same thing. Obviously, the best football movie of all time is Remember the Titans. I think everybody knows that. It's long been viewed as one of the best movies ever made. But the funny thing is, I've seen recently on some forums and some message boards that there's like a cult following of people that dislike this movie, like really strongly dislike this movie. And they're entitled to be wrong, but because look, this movie's got it all. Okay, it's got everything you could want. Denzel Washington obviously does an awesome job, as Denzel Washington does. But it's the high school football. It's the end of the segregation at the T.C. Williams High School when they crush it as usual. I mean, this has got everything you could obviously want in a movie. The worst part of this movie, really, the worst part of this movie is that Sunshine went on to play football at South Carolina. That's really the worst part. I mean, and they talk about that, at the ending credits. So this was a fantastic movie, by far number one. Remember the Titans.
Man, I totally forgot about that. But we got the real Sunshine, and he's dominating. So, not from California, right? But I just want to say, Alan, I noticed you're smiling. Is football fun to you?
Yeah, that is like one of my favorite parts. Zero fun.
Are you sure? Are you smiling? Or are you thinking?
Well,
and I remember another good moment, Al. Another good moment, and I guess you guys are thinking this. It was my number one too. Remember the Titans. Another reason why I love it's number one is somebody put the final drive of Deshaun Watson to the Remember the Titans music, and that's amazing to me too. But left side, strong side. That was an amazing scene. The football is fun. That was an amazing scene.
Yeah.
One that I really like is where. I think I'm going to be butchering their names, but Garnier, I think, and another guy come up. Bertier. Yeah, I don't know why I'm thinking Garnier. Bertier and the other guy, and they come up, right? They come up to coach. They're about to go to fall camp or something like that. They're about to go to camp, get on the buses.
Yeah.
And he's like, Coach, I want to let you know, your boys can play on offense and special teams, but we got defense covered.
Yeah.
And we're gonna take all defense. Y'all can have half and half of the other side, but we got defense covered over here.
Yep.
And he goes, Denzel goes like, "Where's your mama? Is your mama here?" Well, first he calls him Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, right? He jokes at him, right? And then he says, "Where's your mama?" And he points at his mama. He says, "Take a good look at your mama, 'cause once you get on the bus, you ain't got no mama anymore." He said, "All you got is your brothers on the team, and you got your daddy."
Yep.
And then he gives a long pause, and he goes, "And you know who your daddy is, right?" "You know who your daddy is, don't you?" And he was, "Go ahead and say it." Oh man, but you know what? That's another movie that proves that football is able to be, it's such a cultural thing, but it's able to bring people together as a family. Clemson talks about the family of Clemson Tigers and the football team being a family, no matter what your background is, no matter what you look like on the outside. And that was a movie that was great about that.